Hello, welcome to the Recognitive channel, where we're about learning and relearning. This is a personal project that is sponsored by my free time. Let's talk about congruence bias. In this video, we will talk about the definition of congruence, the description of the bias, and some discussion about it. Then we will give some examples of how it affects me and some strategies to overcome it. The word congruence is defined as the quality of state of agreement or coinciding. It comes from the Latin congruentia, that means agreement. This guy, Wason, around 1960, proposed an improved experiment to see how easy it was for test subjects to consider alternate hypotheses. The study is so emblematic that it's quoted everywhere. The premise of the experiment is that the subject will have to guess a rule defined by the researcher by proposing triads of numbers. They were given this initial triad, 2, 4, 6, that conforms to a true rule that only the researcher knows. The guinea pigs or subjects of this experiment would be able to suggest a triad of numbers, including the reason why they chose this triad, as they were coming up with a potential rule. The researcher would tell them if the numbers conform to the rule or not. Then the subject will iterate by suggesting other triads, including the reasons. Notice that in this example, the reason is the same. The subject can continue proposing triads. At some point, the subject wants to propose a rule to the researcher, and they will get feedback if the proposed rule is correct or not. In this case, the rule was incorrect. At this point, round 2 would start. The subject starts freely again, with any triad and reason. Notice that in this example, the triad still conforms to the rule that has been already expressed to be incorrect. The subject continues with more iterations and rounds until the correct rule is found or the subject gives up. Please notice that there are 2 sticking moments in this example. The first moment is where you have a positive evidence, 1, 3, 5, which looks like the idea might be correct. Experiments that are congruent with the idea follow, trying to confirm that it is right. The second moment in the experiment is where the subject was told that the rule was not the right one. The very next triad still conforms to the rule that has been rejected, but the subject has resisted to change it. Wason found that the people that performed better in this experiment were those that tested incompatible choices. In this made-up example, the subject immediately tries triads that break their idea. This would also happen if they failed a certain round. The very next triad is also incompatible. They are always trying to prove themselves wrong. If you're confused at this point, I do not blame you. What is the real difference between congruence bias and the confirmation bias? Do you know something curious? Wason thought that he had observed the confirmation bias too, but the following research got to redefine what he observed to mostly congruence bias. When I started the journey of learning about cognitive biases, I thought I would be seeking for the truth. I was startled when I started looking at literature, and then come this guy. There are almost as many operational definitions of confirmation bias as there are studies. Who's laughing at me now? This guy is Joshua Clayman. He proposed that as part of the system of hypothesis development, there are 2 sides regarding evidence. The part where the evidence is searched and the part where the evidence is interpreted. The searching is concerned with what type of information is being searched, what the framing of the experiments is, and so on. Finally, he states that positive testing lies towards the evidence searching. Joshua Clayman provides a very distinct and clean definition of confirmation bias and positive hypothesis testing. Confirmation bias, an inclination to retain or a disinclination to abandon a currently favored hypothesis. Positive hypothesis testing, looking for the presence of what you expect as opposed to looking for what do you not expect. I think positive hypothesis testing is primarily what was observed and demonstrated by Wason. The interesting thing is that Clayman did not use the word congruence. This other guy, Joseph Barron, specifically experimented with congruence and addressed it as so. Here are his definitions. The congruence heuristic results from the failure to consider alternative hypotheses that might produce the same answer. Congruence bias overvalue questions that have a high probability of a positive result given the most likely hypothesis. Notice here that in congruence, the overvalue is for the questions, not the answers. Also, notice that it is congruence heuristic that was observed in Wason's experiment. It appears that the lines are not diamond cut. Some of the concepts are blurry, and I keep going round and round, like a dog catching tails, like in a Radiohead song. It is time to recognite. I think positive hypothesis testing is similar to congruence by the least. So we will, for now, stay with the idea that Clayman and Byron actually agree. This might be too much of a concession from their point of view, but hey, I'm not asking them. Now I would like to provide some examples. I will have to be a bit ambiguous about the exact context and content, and I'm sorry for that. Let's say I have spent 1 year in developing a report together with some users. It went fine in the beginning, but now the usage is declining, and it was never up to the level that was expected in the first place. Who am I supposed to talk to understand the cause of it? How can I improve the report? Should I talk to the users that were expected to use the report and use it? Should I talk to the ones that were expected and are not using it? What kind of feedback will I get from them? Will it be tough to receive? Should I talk to other people that are using it while I did not expect them to? Notice that the most comfortable is talking to the people on the yes quadrant, and this is what I have done in most cases. As a second example, you can have during root cause analysis, we're using a brainstorming tool, the fishbone analysis. Everybody's contributing and putting their own suspected causes for a phenomenon that is observed. Such phenomenon is normally measured, and we have data to analyze it. Leaving aside that people have emotional connections to their contributions, the team has to decide on one of them as the most probable. And then we need to perform some tests to confirm it. How is the test set up? What we do normally is to activate the cause one and then collect data on the yes square. But the fact is that there is as much information about this on yes-no quadrant, where we activate the cause but we do not see the phenomenon, or in the no-yes quadrant, where we turn off the cause and we do observe the phenomenon still. You would have to wait for it to appear. To be honest, this is not normally how we collect the data. I hope you liked the two examples. Now, a test for you. Imagine you're a doctor and you have a patient that has either one of two diseases, a mysterious virus disease or the flu. The probability are given as 80 and 20 respectively, so the most probable is that this person has the MVD. You have the budget to do one diagnosis test for either of these two diseases, the MVD test or the flu test. Which one will you do? If you answer the MVD, this is a result of the congruence heuristic. Did you stop and ask questions about the reliability of the test in question? If we provide those information to you, both tests have the same reliability of 90% when people have the disease, but they have 30% of giving positive on people that don't have the MVD and 10% positive to the people that don't have the flu. What should be the best testing strategy under these conditions? Let's see now how to mitigate the congruence bias. These are the suggestions from our friends Byron and Clayman. A friendly environment where failing and testing is encouraged. Domain knowledge and experience can ease cognitive strain while developing hypotheses and processing the data. Considering various hypotheses at the same time. In the case of root cause analysis example, testing for two causes might be better. I will turn to Adam Grant. Learn to enjoy being wrong. The only way to truly learn is to be initially wrong. Now we proceed, as I promised, with the evaluation of the video. I consider that I scored a 4. The weak points. For some of you, confirmation bias and congruence bias might still be confusing. If so, this will improve once we review the confirmation bias, hopefully. On the limits of my research, I think I have underestimated the non-exact nature of social sciences. I am just consulting a few references. Let's hope a more knowledgeable person is not triggered by this. And now we turn over to the roulette for the next topic. And the winner is the law of triviality. See you in the next episode. This is the Recognitive channel. Thank you for watching.